want to start today with a metaphor and a perspective. So I want to tell you the three broad themes in this course. We're going to look at the biological background for understanding social behavior. Where is the frame on this? Thank you very much. All right, so one thing we're going to discuss is the biological background, understanding people's social behavior. We're also going to spend a great deal of time with culture, a lot of time with culture. You should think of this as, if I want to predict your behavior, if I want to know what somebody's going to do, there are really two big things that I start with. I don't care necessarily about your personal history, your life story. If I want to predict your behavior, two things really do I want to know first. What culture are you from? And what's the context? And we're going to spend a great deal of time dealing with culture and context in predicting people's behavior. So we're going to look at the ways that culture influences people's behavior, and we're going to look at the ways in which context influences people's behavior. And we're also going to look at the ways in which individuals think about see, already. I'm going to go ahead and tell you this one to tell you how you could earn extra credit if I didn't see it myself. I'm so glad the very first day I can show you that I am far. This should read their place and actions in the culture. We're going to look at the ways in which people think about their place and actions in a culture. So we're going to go, okay, how are they thinking about this context? How are they thinking about the broader cultural norms? So we're going to look at ways that individuals think about their place and actions in the culture. See, already, slide 2. I was revising this morning, and I was like, I need to get all three. My sincere apologies. But this will give you a flavor of the kinds of mistakes I would expect, sadly enough. Any questions? Now, you often hear, if you've taken any other course, they call these three things together. Anyone heard, you take another course and they link the biology, the social stuff, and the psychological stuff. Has anybody taken another course where they relate these? You often hear this called, I'm going to tell you, you often hear it called the biopsychosocial model of behavior. You often hear this called the biopsychosocial model. Has anyone heard this phrase? Yeah, I mean, you hear it a lot in sociology especially. Biopsychosocial model. So we're going to look at biological precursors and indices of behavior, things that are going to help us predict someone's behavior. And we're going to spend a great deal of time with this. We're going to look at the social situation. The social situation is going to be the culture, and it's going to be the context. Who are you around? If I want to predict your behavior, I might go, oh, they're with their friends. Okay. And they're where? Okay. And I'm also going to want to know about the psychological parts of you. So if I'm wanting to predict your behavior, sometimes I can predict it straight from here. Sometimes I need to know the context and the culture that you are in, and sometimes I need to know something about you. This is all abstract, so what I want to do is I want to make it a little more concrete in the few minutes that I have left. Let's make this a little more concrete. So, if anyone has a clicker, this would be a great time to do it. If you don't, many of y'all don't know. So let's try and predict some behavior. So I do a lot of camping. And hiking. It's one of my things in the outdoors. And there's a place in Cloudland Canyon. It's not in Cloudland, Georgia, though that would make a lot of sense if it were. You can tell I got lost once trying to find Cloudland Canyon in Cloudland, Georgia, where it was not. But okay, I'm sitting here, I'm about to go get a camping spot. Here's all the camping spots that have already been taken. Everyone has put their note up there. So here's my question. See how you can predict behavior. Where is the next person? Which site is the next person going to pick? Okay, so 9 is one of the guesses that you would like. So we got 5. Let's see, we're going to need all 5. So you're arguing that the next person is probably going to get 9. So okay, so if we were to do answer choice A, 9. Any other guesses? 1. So we might go 1. Person took 9 1. Any other? 4. All right. a legitimate choice. All right, so that gives us enough. So I can show you all how the clickers work. If you have one, bet on one of these three places. That's good enough. So we can show how clickers work if anyone has. So the person going to pick 9, 1, 3. Oh, sorry, I should have said 4. Already, I don't know my numbers or how to write. Sweet. I like to be professional, especially the first day. All right, so y'all's guesses. All right, so most of y'all go 9. That's probably correct. I don't know. But here's my question. I'm not interested if you get it right or wrong, as much as why. Okay, so it's not near other people. So under that is an assumption you're making about people's behavior. Well, not necessarily the thing. That's probably far, far too general. But give me the underlying assumption that you're using to pick, and 1 would probably work as well, right? For 9, though. It's not that people don't like that. That's far too general.
People usually go camping to get away.
Okay, people usually go camping. You can combine those two. People usually go camping because they want to be away from others, to have their own space. And that the context of camping, usually people want to be away from others. And so you say, well, if I pick site 4 and really sort of right next to someone, or if I pick site 8 or 10 or 2, so you might think, okay, 9 solves this contextual issue, right? That's what you're doing. You're making assumptions about the context that the people are in and the behavior that they're likely to show. And that is what is intriguing. Because you probably didn't think about it that way. You probably didn't go, oh, well, since people don't like to be around others when they're camping, you're probably going to pick the one that is the most equidistant from the most people. Of those, 9 and 1 most solve the problem. But that's really what you're doing. What other question? You might want to know some other information, right? You might have wanted to know, well, where are the sites at? Like how are these things distributed in the, right? Would that be a relevant piece of information? Yeah, and just in case you're curious, they're all down here, and they're all pretty much equally distributed, throughout this little ridge here. You can go in case you're curious, the next person did in fact pick 9. I know that because it was me. When I go camping, I don't want to be around other people. You are absolutely correct. All right, give me another one here. You know what? I have time to do both of these. All right, so we'll start with an example. We'll give another example from the Greek writer Plutarch. Plutarch wrote several books in the early part of, right after, I think it's like 200 AD. I may have the date wrong, but that's the general time frame. So wonderful books. One of them was called Lives. We wrote lives of famous philosophers and statesmen. And he's writing about the relationship between two people. In this case, a man named Solon, who was a great ruler, and someone who came after him who was also a ruler named Pisistratus. Don't let the name cause difficulty. It's a nice Greek name, Pisistratus. And Solon is trying to describe the relationship, Plutarch is trying to describe the relationship between these two. And so here's what I want to know. Plutarch wrote one of these two paragraphs. I'll let you read them. They're pretty much identical. And in one, I have Plutarch's trying to explain. Solon and Pisistratus at first were great friends, partially because they were akin, and partially because of Pisistratus' noble qualities and beauty. And they say that Solon loved him, and that is the reason, I suppose, that afterwards, when they disagreed about government, their enmity, their hatred, never produced any hot and violent passion, or afterwards, when they differed about the government, their enmity produced hot and violent passion. Which one of these do you think Solon actually wrote? Plutarch actually wrote. We'll call this one A, and this one B. Which one of these did Plutarch actually write? Did he say, when they differed, it never produced violent passion, or it did produce hot and violent passion? We'll go A and B. Let's go down here. We have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's see where you are at. Oh, man, hopefully 50-50. That'd be awesome. All right, the majority vote is that he wrote the second one. All right, what assumptions are you making there?
Love has to do with passion, hot and violent.
So like we used to be great friends and now we're not friends anymore, so...
Now I'm passionate about, I get mad.
Well, this one has the hot and violent passion, but it says it never produced it. So you think, if we used to be great friends and now we're not anymore and we're disagreeing about the nature of government, I am going to hate you? That's a totally legitimate...
For me, like, when I have really good friends, when they disagree with something that I so believe in, I'm like, how am I even friends with you?
How am I even friends with you? Like, what do we have in
Also, I
common?
remember Facebook before the election, and a lot of people stop being friends.
Or, Iron Bull does the same thing to people, right? All right, Plutarch wrote one of these. I'm more interested in the assumption that you make, because we can see that we're going to make a series of assumptions. Oh, sorry, that's not what I want to do. In the interest of time, I'm going to just tell you which one he actually wrote. Y'all are wrong. He actually wrote the one on the left. Now, think about it, because now what you can do is go, Plutarch is just asserting this as a statement of fact, and you can read this and go, all right, is this explanation really the correct one? Plutarch may be wrong. I like Plutarch, I admire Plutarch, I have read with great pleasure and profit his book, but he may be wrong about this. How would we solve this problem is going to be one of the themes. That is, how would we solve the issue of what happens when friendships break up? Let me give this one last example in the interest of time. It involves Clara and Robert Schumann. They were composers back in the mid-1800s, and during this period they were married as well, obviously, or I guess they could be brother and sister, but they were married. And at some point they befriended the composer Johannes Brahms. Well, during the course of their friendship, Robert Schumann goes, there's no nice way to say this, crazy. He gets committed to an insane asylum because he tried to commit suicide several times, and finally, ultimately, withered away through his illness and died. At which point, Johannes Brahms continued, he already moved into the house to help Clara Schumann out, but he moved into the house more, he stayed, Clara Schumann and him went on trips, went on vacations together. Here's my question. Were Johannes Brahms and Clara Schumann sexually involved? A is yes. They were great friends while Robert Schumann was alive. Johannes Brahms moved into their house while he was still alive. They were great friends. Johannes Brahms moved in. And then after Robert Schumann's death, Johannes Brahms and Clara Schumann traveled a lot together around Europe. My question is, were they sexually involved? And let's see what y'all think. Most of y'all are yes. Why do you assume that?
Because her mate died, I believe that he was so close that she kind of leaned on him.
Leaned on him,
Yeah,
and
she already knew him, and yeah.
so that all sort of got the passion pump going. All right, that's a good reason for yes. Anyone want to defend no?
Did you say they composed music together?
Clara and Robert Schumann were both individual composers. I don't know off the top of my head if they have any joint compositions.
Well, I said no because I think they inspired each other and they were both probably on the same level intelligence-wise. So they just had a lot, they could share knowledge.
So there were these two people, both having very similar interests, very feeding off each other, but you think that never turned into any romantic kindling? Well, as it turns out, the answer is, I am really sorry. We have to, class is over. I'll see y'all Friday.